Hello and welcome to episode 1161 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, April 7th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Fine.
Just fine.
Yeah, just fine, Justin. Season's not off to a great start, okay? I know we'll sit around and tell everyone not to overreact, but that's for them. Me, I get to overreact. No, I got to practice what I preach. I'm pretty upset that the team is garbage right now, but it's literally a week, literally, and not even really because not every team's played a full week. But it does suck. It always sucks to get off to a bad start. And even if you get off to a great start and you know, like, oh, this is not going to last at this level, it's still nice, right? It's still nice. Just sucks being at the bottom of the standings. But I'm not going to sit here and rant and rave the whole time. Baseball is in full swing and it's good. How you doing over there?
I'm doing well. My teams are having some pitching issues, which is not good. But other than that, I got a couple teams in first place, and the Giants are doing well in murdering my pitchers, which is always fun.
Yeah, when your own team kind of gets you.
Mm-hmm.
My team tried to do that with Sale, but then he rebounded. And frankly, given where I think the Tigers are going to be this year, I was fine with it. You know, they can lose a game. They don't have to get any runs off of Chris Sale. He's been interesting. We're actually going to talk about a few stud starters that are off to slow starts and kind of see where you're at with them. Obviously, we're not making cuts, but got to figure out if you're even concerned or if it's just a two-start blip, things like that. But let's talk a little bit of news notes, and then we'll finish up with the two starts for next week on who we might be picking up, because maybe you have to get some of those guys to fix your aforementioned struggling pitching. But let's start with the big news. Francisco Álvarez is going to be called up for the Mets. Omar Narvaez is hitting the IL, and the prospect Álvarez is going to be called up. Now, if I recall correctly, he is util only in most formats to start, right? So you're not getting a catcher right there with Álvarez until he qualifies. But he's going to get it eventually because Narvaez, this is a 2-month plus injury. This is a calf strain that they're saying 8 to 9 weeks.
Yeah.
So this is a big deal. How do you feel about Álvarez? He was drafted in some leagues, but I think he was already starting to be cut too because people realize I can't hold some util only catcher. So there's going to be some availability here. What do you think of Álvarez over the next couple of months here?
I mean, I think he pretty much becomes a top 12 catcher, which means even in one team or one catcher 12 team leagues, like he's now viable. Like he should be on a roster. It may not be your roster, depending on which catcher you have in a one catcher league, but he should be on somebody's roster. I think he's going to play every day between catching and DHing. His bat should have him in the lineup every day, which makes him really, really interesting. And I think he could, be a guy that is a real difference maker in fantasy. I mean, the bat is really, really good. I think the main question for the Mets was, is the defense good enough? Now that doesn't matter because they don't have Narvaez. They'll have Nido who'll do a fair amount of the actual catching, and then Álvarez can split time.
Yeah, so Álvarez was not drafted in my main, and if a player's not drafted in your main, they have to debut to be available, but he'll be available for this weekend. So that's a 2-catcher 15-team league. Of course, there's viability there for Francisco Álvarez. What about your league? Is he available there, or was he scooped?
I'm checking right now if my computer will actually do it.
While you're checking that, I'm curious, you're saying he should be rostered in even 12-team 1-catcher types. So obviously you're interested here. What kind of bid do you think Álvarez is going to go for? Because you mentioned that Nito's going to do most of the catching, which means I think there could be some DH play for Álvarez. Like he's that kind of bat that even if he's not catching, there's going to be opportunities for him to get in the lineup, especially against lefties, because that's going to be an easy fit with Vogelbach, who's already a platoon guy. So I think against lefties, Álvarez is DHing, and he'll catch against plenty of righties. If he's playing every single day, I mean, that can be a big time bat. I still get nervous about catching rookie catchers, because they get told, hey, focus on the defense. But this bat could be huge where are we at in deeper leagues where Álvarez is available? This could be one of the first big buys out here.
Yeah, I think he's going to be. And we're talking about another guy who might have been dropped in some of the leagues when he got sent down as well. It's going to be another big buy. So, I would expect Álvarez to go for triple digits
in quite a few leagues. Do you think he'll average triple digits for Francisco Álvarez? Or do you think he'll just be several triple digits but the average is under?
I mean, we saw last week guys going triple digits that aren't nearly as talented.
Yeah.
So I would expect him to be kind of the bottom, like $100 to be the bottom.
There's gonna be one league where somebody gets him for $6 because it always freaking happens. But to your point, we saw Pierce Johnson going for quite a bit as like a temporary closer. He does have 2 saves, so they're already getting some benefit there. Michael Grove only had 1 triple digit. Never mind. I wish I could get the average. You get the min and max, but I wish we could get the average from this player movement sheet here. Maybe I'll talk to Derek and see if maybe they can add that on the main event. You can copy it, copy the data, put it in, and get that information. But I think Álvarez is going to be a big buy here too. Why don't you give the exact price that you're going to pay for him for your league mates? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to be in on him too because in my main, he is going to be available. Actually, it looks like all of my NFBC leagues that are fab, he's going to be available. I think all the
late leagues too, right? 'Cause it was clear around mid-March that Álvarez was not going to be on the roster, so he was being drafted a lot less. In fact, the one league that he was drafted in mine was the TGFBI, and he was cut.
Yeah, he was drafted in my TGFBI, he was drafted in my Barf League, but he was cut in both as well. So
now we're going to see big bids on Álvarez, and I agree with you. I think the average is going to be triple digits or above. I totally agree with that.
I know. Like in my auction, I won't put a bid on him because I've got Real Muto and I have Melendez. But in my main event, I think I'm dropping Nick Fortes for him. I
have Nick Fortes in TGFBI that I could. I mean, Fortes is playing well though. I don't know. And I also have Blake Sable in the main as my second. And is Álvarez better? Yeah, probably. But is he triple digits better? Is that difference worth it? I don't know. I don't know that I think that's the case. But I know a lot of teams will, and that's the thing. Álvarez is going to be expensive. We'll see where the bids are, but you should be aggressive with him if you need a catcher. And I agree with Justin that there are some one-catcher formats where you could find Álvarez viable, particularly if you lost a guy recently. I don't know if there's any other catchers that have recently gone down, but I think Álvarez is going to be a hot pickup this weekend. So could this guy, as you mentioned, because Grayson Rodriguez was a surprise send-down after a bad spring. I guess he fixed himself in those 5 days. Look, I know team need trumps everything. I'm not even clowning the Orioles for bringing him back up, but it's always tough when they say things like that about, how a guy has to go down and kind of work on some things, and then he's up 12 minutes later, and it's like, well, you were paying lip service then. You're full crap because now that a team need arises, he's instantly back. And after a little bit of a shaky first inning, Grayson Rodriguez settled in, looked good. He's going to be available in a lot of leagues. I think he's an easy triple-digit type of guy. What did you think of Grayson Rodriguez's debut? Then we'll get into some potential bid prices.
He was really impressive, and it was actually nice to see him go at least 5 innings. I pulled him right after the 5th, but considering he started off, a little bit shaky, I was afraid that they wouldn't let him go that far because a lot of the talk has been they're going to manage him in starts. They're going to try not to shut him down early, but that they're not going to let him go deep into the pitch counts because they're afraid of, him being overworked. So nice to see him go 5. It was a tough matchup. The Rangers are a pretty good team, and DeGrom was on the other side, and he got the better of him. So, I like Grayson a lot. If he's available, if he got dropped in your league, he didn't get dropped in any of mine, unfortunately. So I won't have the ability to pick him up. But if he was dropped in somebody's in your league, I think he is a top priority pickup.
I think in shallower formats it made sense to cut him. I don't clown the people that did, because it did look like he was going to go down for a few weeks there and work on stuff allegedly. So I understand if you did move on from him. I agree, or not. I don't agree, but I'm with you. not available in any of my leagues, but he is going to be another big-time triple-digit guy out there. How big would you go, though, right? Because it is still a rookie pitcher who is going to be managed in games, like you said, which could cut into the win potential. If you're on a $1,000 budget, are you pushing 25, 30+% here on Grayson Rodriguez?
I don't think so. Like I think I've come to the conclusion that it's a bad decision to go 25, 30% on anyone.
Almost any time. Yep.
I think the time you do it is if you are in July, you really know where your standings are at, and you've been saving your money, right? And that, oh, I've still got $800 left. Now I'm going to go 300. I'm going to make sure I get the guy that's really going to help me propel me over the top. Doing it so early just hamstrings you. Like, I mean, even like last week, like I put a $50 bid in on Will Smith, which is more than I really wanted to spend, but he got a save late. Well, Jose Leclerc got the next save, and now I'm like, oh no. And Will Smith came in like the seventh inning.
Yeah. Well, that was never going to be just his job, though, right? You knew that.
Yeah, I know. It just, was that just, oh, we're just giving the vet the first one, and then we'll go back to the guy that, is actually the dude. So now I'm worried that, like,
I mean, $50 though. $50 for a handful of saves, I think, is fine on a $1,000 budget. If people were spending triple digits on Will Smith, I think that they made a mistake, just flat out. Like I don't think that that they should have been doing that, because Leclerc's not out. He's not out there. That's a split job right there. And I still think Leclerc is probably at least like a 65-35 advantage. Unless they start facing a bunch of teams with a lot of middle of the lineup lefties that Will Smith can get saves against. So I don't think you made a bad bid there or anything.
Yeah, I know. I wanted a full-on closer for $50. I didn't want a half closer or a third closer.
If he was a full-on closer, he would have been triple digits, and you know it.
Yeah, I know. But I wanted it.
Let's talk about Michael Harris. He did leave the game as a precautionary measure on Thursday. I want to say he bumped into the wall. That was a hell of a game, by the way. I don't know if you watched that Braves-Padres game. It was a good game, and it should be a fun series. I like these playoff contender early season series. They can be a lot of fun. I remember Padres have played some recently, too, in like April, May of recent years. This looks like it could be a good one this weekend, too. But Harris left. Not supposed to be a huge issue, but it is a back. Makes me a little bit nervous. Not making any moves based off of it unless he goes on the IL. But I did want to use it as a reason to bring up Sam Hilliard, who, when I was talking to Eric Longenhagen, he had brought up Sam Hilliard. And if there is an avenue for Hilliard to get more PT, whether Harris goes on the IL or not, which, again, right now, they're saying precautionary, not a big deal. They're saying all the right things. But if he picks up some left field starts over Rosario, maybe get some DH starts over Ozuna, I do wonder if Hilliard can actually find something, right? Usually a guy gets out of the coolers and you're like, well, that sucks because I wish he had that stadium to protect him. But when it comes to a younger guy, and he's 29 now, he's not really young, but he was a prospect with them. I'm almost happier when they leave Colorado because they're so inept at developing guys that I'm like, oh, let's see if a team that knows how to develop guys can do something here. He's still a strikeout machine, and that's the biggest issue with Hilliard. And unless we see something advancing there, I don't know that it's going to merit much potential. But he's somebody I'm keeping on the watch list, particularly if anything grows here with the Harris back injury. But I wonder if you think that Hilliard is a worthy deep league watch list guy right now.
Probably not. It's interesting because like he's still striking out right now at a 40% clip. It's only 2 games. I'm not
2 for 5.
But what he's done so far in this season, again, only 5 plate appearances, is he's been passive. Like he's gotten caught with some lookings, as opposed to having a massive swinging strike rate. So I guess that's like a good sign that hey, it's not like he's being overly aggressive and that's the reason he's striking out. But I mean, obviously we need to see more. I just don't know unless Michael Harris is hurt. If Michael Harris is hurt, then he's going to get playing time in I think deeper leagues. That makes sense because anybody with a pulse, you're happy to have,
especially on that team.
Yeah. I mean, the hard part on a team like that, though, is you're never going to bat higher than like seventh.
Yeah, but that's fine because it's a good team. So batting seventh on an excellent team is like batting fifth on a crappy team, fourth or fifth on a
Yeah.
crappy team. Okay, so you're not in on Sam Hilliard. That's fine. I'm
No.
keeping him watch listed. Obviously, if anything grows here with Harris, I hope it doesn't. By the way, I want Harris to be healthy and great. Even though I was fading him this year, I still actually root for him. I wouldn't mind taking an L on that one just because he's such a fun player. But I just wasn't ready to pay full price on Michael Harris. Sean Murphy is a platoon catcher. Have you
Is
noticed
he?
this?
No,
He's
I
only playing
haven't.
against lefties. Go
That-
look at the roster resource.
That's not good.
What is up with that? Travis d'Arnaud playing every day, DH or catcher, and Murphy only catching against lefties and not getting to fill in at DH or anything on those off days. That's Ozuna playing DH.
Yeah, that's not good.
Remember last year he was the plate appearance god. Murphy was, and we knew
this,
that
this
was
year
gonna,
Travis d'Arnaud is like that's
apparently
crazy.
we knew it was going to come down coming from Oakland to Atlanta, right? Just because d'Arnaud was there, they weren't going to run Murphy into the ground. I don't think anybody, in fact, I'm certain that nobody saw this coming. Is this just some early season, weird situation, or is this an issue with Murphy? And would you dare cut Murphy in a 10 or 12 team for Francisco Alvarez?
Ooh. I think we need a little bit more data, but I think I might if we get to Sunday and this is still the case.
Let's see who they've got this weekend. Just see real quick. This weekend they're still facing the Padres. I'm trying to think of who the Padres would even have as I bring up the projected starters. Do they have any other lefties besides Snell, who they already faced? Let's see here.
I don't think so.
Padres, Braves, pardon me. Nick Martinez this weekend. Oh, 3 righties this weekend. And if he does not start any of those games, Sean Murphy, it seems insane to cut him.
I bet you he starts every other game.
That's still horrible.
Yeah.
Which means that's only one start then. He'd be off today, start Saturday, off Sunday to keep his every other because he started yesterday against Snell. Sean Murphy did.
So if he only starts one of those 3 games, I wouldn't have a problem necessarily dropping him. I don't want to.
That feels crazy, but I'm not
in
necessarily
12,
disagreeing with you.
Like if you're in a 1 catcher 12 team league, yeah, I don't have a problem moving on. Like that's frightening. Like for those of us who play in like 2 catcher formats, like 15 team 2 catcher formats. I'm just like, for some reason my mind is just going straight to Nick Pollock, who was in tout with me and was so excited to get Sean Murphy for like an affordable price. Like,
yeah.
He got him for like under market value. Like you've got to just be so annoyed that they traded for this guy. Like,
listen, here's the real
and it's
thing.
I mean, it's Ozuna and Eddie Rosario playing over him. Like,
and d'Arnaud, who's not
but d'Arnaud isn't
a great
like
defensive catcher.
They're not playing the same position when they're playing, or like it's not like when Murphy's not catching, d'Arnaud's the one playing DH. They're playing Marcell Ozuna and Eddie Rosario over Sean Murphy.
d'Arnaud is catching against righties.
Yeah,
and they're both right-handers, by the way.
When Sean Murphy isn't catching, the people that they're playing over him at DH are Marcell Ozuna and Eddie Rosario. Eddie Rosario hitting like my daughter's body weight, and Marcell Ozuna, who is awful and can't play defense.
Eddie Rosario's batting average is fine. Your daughter does not weigh 286 pounds. His ISO might be more her weight. 71. That would have been a better way
He
has a
must have
decent
gotten like
batting
a
average.
couple hits yesterday or something.
Yeah,
like
well, that's the thing. If you saw a batting average on Wednesday, you know it can completely reverse. Yeah, I don't know. We're belaboring it at this point, so I apologize, but I'm stunned by this with Murphy. I'm reluctant to make a move, especially because, like I said, I am nervous about rookie catchers, so I don't think I would do the Álvarez for Murphy thing right now. But man, if you're in a 10 or 12 teamer, I understand the temptation if it's a one catcher league. This dude's only playing half the time, and I don't get it. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about some slow starting studs, and let's see if you have any concern about them. There was a little pocket of anti-Burnes sentiment in the market in March. A few different people just saying, he's not my number one. I'm not as keen on him. I want to say Nick's PLV system
Yep.
wasn't a fan. A couple other people that just they weren't out saying that it was their big talking point of the year, but they were just like, I'm not as keen on him. He's my 4 or whatever. Still putting him top 5, but not so keen on Corbin Burnes. 2 starts in, anybody with some anti-sentiment looking pretty good. He has a 9.64 ERA, a 171 whip, 6% swinging strike rate, by the way, 13% K rate, 11% walk rate, bunch of numbers. Add it all up, it's been bad. Are you at all concerned about 2 bad starts from Corbin Burnes, or is it 2 bad starts and we're fine?
I think you have to be concerned. Like, this is his velocity's down. It's not like down a tremendous amount, but it's enough. The weird part is his slider velocity is actually up. So I wonder if that's like mislabeling of pitches, or if that's an actual thing. Because if the difference between his fastball and slider is so, the fastball being down, slider being up, like if they're looking, much closer to being the same pitch, or at least
or
the same
also
pitch, like that.
Another potential issue with the slider velo being up is that cutting into the break.
Yeah.
So it's like, we see velo up on things, and it's generally a good thing, but mostly with fastballs. But on a breaking pitch, that can cut into the break and make it less effective. If it's a straighter slider, you don't want that.
Yeah, so I do a 2-start pitcher article now for Fantasy Pros. And I did it last night. I was up till 3:00 in the morning finishing that article. And, I break things into tiers, like must start. I don't even write about them, right? Because they're must start.
In fact, that's what we do 2 steps here on the Friday show. And I don't even put Zack Gallen on there. What am I going to say? Yeah. Guys, you should start Zack Gallen.
Well, actually, I have Zack Gallen as not a must start. But I also have Corbin Burnes is not a must start, because there are 10-team leagues where you might not,
No. In what universe are you not starting Zack Gallen?
Every starting pitcher this week was like a fucking. I don't know.
Zack Gallen has Milwaukee and at Miami. You're insane.
I put them in the should start tier, which is like you should start them.
Burnes has a 2-step this week.
He does.
At Arizona, at San Diego. Okay, so 10-team. Do you dare sit Corbin Burnes?
I don't have the balls to.
I don't think it's balls. I think it's lack of brain power. I think it'd be so stupid. I think it'd be so stupid to sit him after 2 starts. I'm sorry. Yes, there's a bunch of negatives in the profile right now. But we do this talking point a lot, but it is apt. If these were 2 bad starts in June, you would not react. You would notice it because it's your ace. You'd be like, my ace just had 2 shitty starts. You wouldn't do a damn thing about it, though.
No,
I don't think we should be, just because they're the first 2 starts of the season.
Yes, but it's definitely one of those things that I'm really watching.
That I'm fine with, but I'm not taking Corbin Burnes out of my lineup.
Gallen is the same way, right? Like, he's been working with reduced velocity. The results haven't been very good because of it. I'm getting a little nervous. I'm still starting him. Like, he's still going into my lineup this week. But, I don't feel as good about it as I did when I clicked that button to draft him.
Yeah, I should have put Gallen on this list here, so we'll just add him in there since we did talk about him. But yeah, same type of deal here where You're seeing a bunch now with Gallon. I'm even less concerned though, because while Burnes did get the Mets, which is always tough, the first one was at the Cubs, and they just kind of got him the last 2 years, right? Opening day, the Cubs have beaten him up 2 years in a row now, and then the one against the Mets are great, so that's okay. With Gallon, it's been trips to San Diego and the Dodgers. I'm giving him like a complete free pass on that. I'm just not that worried. And
Yeah.
you do have to be careful balancing like never being critical about your stud players in the face of struggles. But unlike with Burnes, I got an 11% swing strike rate, which is actually up from last year. You say he's working with reduced velo. It's zero point 0.3 miles an hour. It's nothing. That's nothing to me, right? On the fastball, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing 96, excuse me, 93.9 to 93.6. I'm not too
So I
worried
guess
about
it's
that.
not as reduced as it was like 91 at the end of spring training all of a sudden.
Okay, but he's back. He's back where Gallon needs to be. The homers are up a bit, and those are two devastating matchups. The Padres and the Dodgers. So Gallon, I have even less concern about, and I paid less for him than I did Burnes, but I have even less concern because it's tough matchups. I'm just not that worried. Burnes, there's a lot of ugliness in the profile right now. But again, what are you gonna do? Sit him? And I'm just not. At Arizona, at San Diego, not a super easy slate there.
I don't know. It's so hard to sit a guy that you may have taken in the first or second round. Yeah, I don't know that.
I just don't think you can. I think it would be a really, really bad play.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is why he was in the should start tier for me. It was just, like I'm saying, like
must start. Don't even open the door about sitting.
It was such a hard week to. I mean, there was like 12 guys in the must starts. Like it was like
there's a lot. We don't have as big of a list, but we do need to get moving here so we can get all these two steps here. Lance Lynn, your boy, or a show favorite for years, but a guy that you definitely love to roster for good reason. Struggling a little bit, and your own team doing that to you. Can you believe that? Your own Giants pummeling him.
This is so frustrating. Oh my God.
Okay at Houston. The 4 walks were uncharacteristic, but you're like, 2 runs and 5 2/3, 6 Ks. I can live with that. But then your own Giants just pummeled him. By the way, they also pummeled Kopech, who we talked about on the last show. I liked Draft Cheats tweets about that, saying that he was listening to that, knowing what was coming with the Kopech, knowing that we were just going to continue to get increasingly angrier. But 8 earned and 4 1/3, 3 homers, and 3 more walks. With Lynn, that's 7 walks now in 10 innings. That's probably the biggest takeaway for me, even more so than the homers. What's up with your boy Lynn? He closed brilliantly last year, but he is 36. Are we starting to worry about Lance Lynn at all?
I'm a little worried. Again, the velocity was reduced, and then the results were not good. This is a little bit troubling for me. I don't know that there's anything you can do about it at the moment. You're not dropping him.
He's a 1 start at Minnesota next week.
I'm probably still rolling with him.
I'm starting him everywhere still with Lance.
Yeah. I can't imagine there's a league where my pitching is strong enough where I'm going, Lance Lynn's going to my bench. Maybe in a 10-team league, like if you like a 10-team weekly league where the rest of your roster has really good starts. Like I had a league this last week where I went, oh man, I've got to leave like somebody good, somebody that I really like on the bench, and I had a really tough time.
Can't relate.
Tough time figuring that one out. But I can't imagine I'm benching Lance Lynn, but I am watching to see where that velocity is and what the command looks like.
Yeah, I think we're on a wait and see or a monitor situation with Lynn. But again, I think it really boils down to one really bad start. Again, the Houston one, I'm not. That's fine going into Houston and kind of surviving. The Giants walloped him. Your Giants really just took off this week and really started blasting homers left and right in Chicago. They got 712 off of Kopech and another 3 off of Lynn here. The wind was blowing out at 10 miles an hour to left field. And let's see here. Well, it wasn't a bunch. I was gonna say it wasn't a bunch of righties that hit homers. It was actually a mix, righties and lefties. So everyone was just hitting them. I don't know if they were oppo tacos or not, but it was actually 3 lefties and 2 righties that hit the homers. Not all against Lynn. He didn't give up 5 homers, but then Ruiz and Hanser Alberto. Yes, that Hanser Alberto came in and gave up 4 runs, including a homer as well. What about Blake Snell? It's kind of same old yesterday watching Blake Snell. Love Blake, always rooting for him, but couldn't get deep in the game. Pitches ran up. He had 88 pitches through 3 2/3, 4 walks. Only 1 walk in the debut against Colorado, but that's Colorado. And even in that start, 93 pitches in 4 1/3. So here we are again, 2 starts in, hasn't reached 5. Is this same old with Blake? And if so, are you concerned as we see 5 walks in 8 innings so far?
I think it is kind of same old. The velocity's fine. He's just a guy that sometimes loses feel for his pitches and starts walking too many guys, and that gets him in trouble. But he'll come out and have a start next week where he completely shuts someone down for 6 innings. I think this is what you get for drafting Blake Snell. One of the reasons I didn't draft Blake Snell was this issue and then the injury issues. And so, yeah, I think he is who he is.
Trip to the Mets next week. What do you think about that for Snell?
I mean, it's a little bit scary because the Mets can be a little bit scary, but like the Mets aren't like destroying people right now. So
True.
I think I probably roll with it in most formats.
They destroyed Corbin Burnes, though, who you're not even starting in any league format. You said in 15 team you would cut Burnes. That was crazy when you said that earlier.
Yeah. I mean, so glad. Like, I almost took Corbin Burnes with my first pick in the main event, and then he almost made it to me in the second round. And I'm just so glad. Like, I don't have that bum on my roster.
Last
We're
week,
joking for anybody who can't read sarcasm.
But the last week of things, going into drafts, I put Cole 1, and that's who I would have taken if I didn't take Tucker. So I would have avoided the Burnes trap there because Cole was available. With Snell, you know what? I found him to be expensive at drafts. There was a lot of love for him. He was a top 100, 92nd overall ADP in the main events, the 53 drafts for the main event. I thought that was actually pretty pricey. That kind of surprised me, and that's why I don't have any Snell, because I agree with you that you said this is what you get with him, that these first 2 starts without 5 innings. I can't really be that surprised by it. Why was he going that high, though? I felt like I was missing something with him when I kept seeing him go that high.
It partially was that projection systems were still giving him like 160, 100, 155, 160 innings, in spite of the fact he has not thrown 130 innings in like the last 3 seasons.
He's only done it once, the Cy Young season.
And so people were adding that in with the fact that he finished last year with a 2.18 ERA.
He finished
in the second
beautiful.
half.
Yep.
But like I think it's a little bit of wish casting, like where you're going, oh, this is the year he does what he did in the second half and he throws all the innings. Maybe he does one of those 2 things, but he's not doing both. And honestly, like, I'm not going to project him to do like either or. Like, I'm going to project him to throw 130 innings, and I'm going to project him to kind of have up and down, spurts as he always does. And so I was out on Blake Snell because of my projection. And it feels like a pretty good projection at this point. And we're 2 starts in, and maybe I'll look stupid in a month, but
I had him as a top 40 pitcher. But this, he was going as the 37th pitcher overall, not starter. I had him a top 40 starter, I should say. And NFBC ranks all the pitchers together, and I don't have time to cut out all the relievers. So he was the 37th pitcher going around Clay Holmes, Kenley Jansen, Camilo Duvall. So whatever closers they are, if they're like the 10th, 11th, and 12th closers, I don't know. You could remove like 12 guys, and then that would put him 25th. But he was a top 30 drafted starter, Blake Snell was. And while I do like him, I didn't like him that much, and the market liked him more. Now, I did like this guy, though, and so far, not so good for the boy Chris Sale. Now, it was looking really bad to start the Tigers start after the disaster against Baltimore. I was like, here we go again. Thankfully, he settled down, ended up getting the win. 5 innings, 3 runs, 7 Ks against the Tigers. You definitely want a better outing, but it's hard to get too upset about 7 strikeouts and a win. You can't really complain too much there, even though you didn't get some sparkling ERA with it. Where do you stand on Sale? Because if I recall correctly, you were also in on him coming into the year, and so far, pretty modest right now. Are we concerned about Sale, or are we feeling okay because the strikeouts have still been there?
I'm feeling okay. Like I saw some people out in the industry who were like, he's washed, he's broken, you should drop him. Like no, like
I'm not doing that.
Like I think he, this is some tough starts, but I think he'll end up being fine. Like I don't think he's gonna, if someone is willing to sell low on him, like I'm gonna. One of the other articles I'm doing Fantasy Pros is like a buy low, sell high type of article. Chris Sale will be on that next article.
369 Sierra so far. Skill interactive ERA, just getting to those core skills to the 11.25 ERA because he has a 31% K rate. It is a 12% walk rate, which is definitely super high, but a 14% swinging strike rate. I don't think, call me crazy, I don't think the 4.5 homer 9 and 57% homer to fly ball rates are going to stick. I think those are going to come down. I think his 61%
what
left
about
on
the
base rate.
368 BABIP? You think that's got to come down too? Like,
call me insane. I'm out here on a limb. I think that's going to come down.
Yeah, I mean, he's got like a below career norm zone contact. He's still getting, swings and misses, like with a 14% swinging strike rate. Like, yeah. I don't think this is gonna be who he is.
It was a really bad first start for Sale, and he's going to take some time to work that off. He allowed 3 homers and 7 earned against Baltimore. So the fact that he was just okay against Detroit wasn't enough to bring it down much. If he's just okay in his next outing, that still won't be enough. He needs a few sparkling outings to really get back on track. Now those might not come, but I'm not moving a muscle here. He's at Tampa Bay. Sale's easily in the lineup. Even though Tampa Bay is great, I'm not doing anything here. I'm sticking with Sale through and through.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, let's continue on then and talk some 2-steps. Grayson Rodriguez, we talked about him earlier. He and Kyle Gibson get Oakland and at the White Sox. Obviously, 2 different players here as far as expectations. Grayson, obviously, if you pick him up, you're starting him. What if you already have him? Are you starting him at home to Oakland and at the White Sox?
I mean, if you can't start someone against Oakland,
that's the thing.
Then
that's all you have to say right there.
I know, like, we used to say a lot of, like, if you can't start him in a 2-step, you shouldn't have him on your team. I don't think that is actually true.
I tend to agree with that for the most part, yes.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily true. But if you can't start him on a 2-step when Oakland's one of the starts, I don't care if it's at Rockies against the Dodgers. Like, you can't roster him. Like, it's just...
The principle of if you can't start him in a 2-step, why is he on your roster? The only real exceptions to that would be, like... at Dodgers, at Rockies. Oh. Yeah, Kopech. But no, like, it has to be 2 pretty devastating starts. Otherwise, why are they on your roster?
Yeah.
Right? So I do think that that's a principle that should kind of drive where you're at. And then you can make your exceptions from there. But generally speaking, that should be your thinking. What about our boy Kyle Gibson? He is a streamer, and I want to say he's off to a pretty good start. 4.50 ERA, 108 WHIP so far, and he gets the Oakland start as well. Is that enough to get you in on a 2-step for him with the trip to the White Sox looming on the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, especially because both of his starts have been on the road, so he hasn't even gotten like the comfy confines of Camden, which is still to me, even 2 years later, like still just a weird thing to say.
Feels so crazy to say after we grew up with that place being terrible. Even if they sucked, even if the O's sucked, you did not want your pitchers going in there, especially in the summer. And now you're like, sweet. So okay, we're starting Grayson and Gibson.
I think I am, yeah.
10-teamer for Gibson streamer or just 12s and above?
I think 12s and above.
Me too.
10 team, especially because like the Chicago start, though, Chicago's already banged up. No Eloy right now. Like,
We didn't talk about that. You can take your victory lap if you want, but I will throw Jared Kelenic right back in your face if you do. So you should wait. You should
No,
wait to
I'm
take your
just
victory
bummed.
lap.
I
I'm
actually
bummed, dude.
I drafted Eloy in my last draft of the year. Like I was like,
Look,
I'm
I
getting
knew
a
that
share
was
just
the
in
risk.
case.
I knew that that's the risk. My whole thing is if he stays healthy, I think he's a stud. He just can't stay healthy. Hopefully this is a small blip. It doesn't seem to be like a major injury, and he gets back and kills it. But man, already injured, so frustrating with Eloy. Let's talk Nick Pivetta. His first start went okay, 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, three runs, only one of them earned though, and he gets a 2-step where he's going to go to Tampa Bay and home to the Angels. That's not easy. After his start against Pittsburgh, he still allowed 2 homers to them. What do you do with Nick Pivetta starting or sitting him? Or excuse me, picking him up or not, because you shouldn't really have him on your roster. This is a pickup stream or nothing as far as I'm concerned.
not picking him up. Like what he did in his first start against Pittsburgh was walk people and give up home runs. It's like that is like prime Nick Pivetta. Like
Quintessential, Pivetta.
I'm not playing that game.
Yep, not even like maybe AL only, and that's obviously such a deep league that's totally different.
Any 2-start is viable in an L only.
Exactly. Drew Smyly gets Seattle and a trip to the Dodgers. I think the trip to the Dodgers is eliminating enough, but I don't even think I would want the Seattle start with.
He has not look. He did not look good in his first start. Like
no,
I do not want
easy
Drew
pass
Smyly.
then.
Yeah.
Germán Márquez.
Nope. One of them's at home. Nope.
Okay, I'm with you. I just wanted to bring it up. St. Louis and at Seattle,
and like the 2 good teams as well. Like
yep. No, I can't. I simply cannot start him at home. I refuse to do it. He's had some success there at different times. Doesn't matter. And he survived the at San Diego at the Dodgers. The Dodgers beat him up a bit, but he was so good at San Diego that his numbers look fine right now. Don't fall into the Marquez trap and starting him at home. I agree. Matt Manning gets tripped to Toronto and then hosts the Giants, who are apparently the greatest offense in the world. Manning did some things last year that looked pretty good and had a good start so far this year. I'm still bought in on him. This is a difficult 2-step, though. He went into Houston and looked sharp, is at Toronto and home to San Francisco, something that you would take a shot on Matt Manning for in 15-teamers.
It's tough, but yes, I think I would. I streamed him in tout kind of on accident. He was my backup bid, and I didn't get any of my other bids. And so like I got him for free. In that, and in tout they have a rule where you have to start the guy if you pick him up. Yep. So I had to start him at Houston, and he was good.
And you survived, yeah.
I survived that. I was like, okay.
He looked sharp.
I think there are some scenarios in which you could start him, but I think 15-team league is like you shouldn't pick him up in a 12.
I agree. Matt Manning,
15-team or AL only.
It's deeper leagues, but I agree. I'm glad you brought it up the way you had to start Matt Manning, because that's what I would be right now, which is he's in my list. He's not at the top of my list, but if I don't get my first few choices and I quote unquote get stuck with him or just, wind up with Matt Manning, I'm okay with that. I would probably take this shot here. It could blow up, right? There's high risk here at Toronto and home to San Francisco, but I like Matt Manning. He's still a premium prospect, and here's the thing too. You pick him up this week, and even if you don't want to start him, right? If you have the luxury where you can pick him up and just bench him, because if Matt Manning pops off this week, his price next week would be through the roof. So I think you jump him right now if you do like him at all, even if you're not looking to start him. You know who's looked pretty decent so far is Zack Greinke. And the ageless wonder just keeps getting it done. He's got a 2.38 ERA, but a 1.32 WHIP. He's not walking anybody, not giving up any homers. That's kind of the Zack Greinke thing right now. Minnesota and Toronto, he handled them both at home. He goes to Texas and hosts Atlanta. That is not an easy 2-step. Where do you stand on Zack Greinke? You picking him up in 15-teamers?
There's just so little upside for the downside. Like I just can't do it. He's going to hit 3,000 strikeouts this year, as long as he stays healthy.
Is he, though? Because he still needs a decent number, right?
If he needs 110.
He had 73 last year, Justin. He's not guaranteed to get it this year unless he pitches like a ton of innings.
He only threw 137 innings. I'm saying if he stays healthy and throws 180 innings, I think he gets there.
if he keeps a 6-something rate, which is what he's at right now, 6.4, he was at 4.8 Ks per 9 last year. But yeah, I hope he gets it. Greinke, so fun to root for, but I can't take this shot here. At Texas and home to Atlanta is very difficult. What about Wade Miley? He stood tall in his debut. I want to say it was against the Mets. And it was somebody where it's like, I like him as a streamer. I think I even said in my SP chart, I like him as a streamer, but this matchup scares me. And he goes out and throws 6 scoreless, 5 strikeouts, 5 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts. He gets trips to Arizona and San Diego next week. Pretty scary, but is Miley somebody who interests you as a pickup in deeper formats?
I think these matchups are tough enough where I probably don't want to mess with it.
I think that's fair.
But I understand, like, going, okay, this is the best 2-start guy that might be available in my 15-team
He's
league.
in my list, right? Again,
Yeah.
he's probably below Manning, and if it gets down there and I get Miley, I'm like, okay, fine.
Because,
And again,
spoiler alert, a lot of the rest of these guys are not going to be
exactly.
worthy.
And I think Miley's another one where maybe I don't start him though, but if he goes and handles this 2-step, the price would be through the roof. And Miley's a pretty damn good pitcher. Like if you look at it recently, outside of the COVID year, he's been really good since 2018. He had a 5.65 ERA in 14 innings. Like that's 2020 was a complete throwaway if you played the whole year, let alone if you played partial. So since 2018, including the 2020 season, 462 innings of a 3.50 ERA and a 1.32 WHIP. So he'll hurt your WHIP but give you a good ERA. This is Wade Miley. So again, even if you don't want to start him here, maybe you pick him up now so that you get him on the cheap in case he pops off and then becomes a big streamer that everyone starts talking about. What about Kenta Maeda, home to the White Sox and at the Yankees?
No. After Maeda leaving with an injury, I want to see him pitch before I throw him back in my lineup. Like, I know they said it was just fatigue, but this is a guy who, like, didn't throw last year because of coming off of Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
I'm scared of those guys to begin with. He leaves with an issue, some sort of issue that looked like an arm issue. And then they said it's just fatigue. He's fine. These are 2 tough matchups too. Like I'm not messing with this.
Yeah, the matchups make it scary. He was great at Miami, but I'm also scared of Kenta Maeda. Jhonny Brito looks like he's coming back, ready to go at Cleveland and home to Minnesota. Had a beautiful MLB debut. Is that enough to get you on the Jhonny Brito train?
This is frustrating because like all the people like who like spent their money to like pick him up, like I was like, haha, this is what you get for spending hundreds of dollars on a guy.
We knew he was going to come back though.
We didn't know he wasn't going to come back this quickly.
No, it was the whole like they don't need a 5th starter thing, right?
Yeah, but he's supposed to stay down for 10 or 15 days. He didn't come close to that.
Well, because there's always a way around that shit.
Yeah, I know. Anytime someone, gets hurt or whatever. But
yeah.
No, I'm starting him. If he's on my team right now, then he is going into my lineup. And if he got dropped in a league where, someone
I'm sure he did.
Yeah, then I think is a really, really interesting pitchup. He was very, very impressive against my Giants.
Jhonny Brito looked great in his debut, got optioned out because they said that they don't need the 5th starter, and now he's penciled in for a 2-step here. It's not guaranteed, by the way. He's not called back up yet, but that is where it's looking right now, that he would start on Tuesday and Sunday. So stay tuned over the weekend to make sure, but looks like Jhonny Brito should be coming back up, should be getting a 2-step, and I'm pretty intrigued by it. JP Sears for Oakland gets at Baltimore and home to the Mets. At least going to Baltimore is not bad, as we were mentioning earlier. But the Mets is tough. It's JP Sears. I don't know if you're getting a win. I'm kind of intrigued by Muller, Sears, and Waldachuk. They're 3 lefties, but I don't think enough to take this plunge here with Sears. What do you think?
I just don't know he's going to go deep enough into the game that he's going to qualify for a win. And yeah, I mean, he got 5 strikeouts in 4.
In his first game, but 8% swinging strike rate in 70 innings last year, which It didn't correspond with his minor league numbers. In fact, I like Sears, and I was kind of gassing him up when that trade happened, thinking that maybe he could bring some of his minor league swing and miss. And if this first start is indicative, it was a 12% swinging strike rate, that would be great. But he also gave up 15.4 hits per nine and a 1.9 homer nine in those 4 2/3. So there were some positives and some negatives in that first start. This two-step includes the Mets, and while they are not destroying everyone, that's enough to scare me because he also has to face Scherzer. So even if you think that the Mets offense is somewhat gettable, I still don't see a win for Sears there, and I don't really see a win in Baltimore. So what am I really getting? 8
And
innings, 7 strikeouts, and mediocre to poor ratios? Maybe good ratios at best? I don't know. Can't do it. I need to see more from him.
I do like him, but I think he's more of a long-term play than using this.
I'm keeping tabs on Muller, Waldichuk, Sears, all 3 of those lefties, but I'm not really picking up Sears right now. I don't think that there's too much upside there. Matt Strahm gets Miami and a trip to Cincy. That trip to Cincy makes it pretty scary. He had a decent outing, but he only threw. Oh no, he did throw 5. That's right. He threw 5 innings of 1 hit ball, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts.
No.
He had a relief outing.
Yeah, he had a relief outing too. So.
I'm not going crazy. It was a 4-inning start.
Yeah, he's not going deep enough into games to qualify for win, which eliminates him for me.
Okay,
at least.
then we don't go further on that. I agree.
If he stretches out, then I'll start getting interested because I've always been a big Strahm guy.
Yep.
But until he does, I can't. I'm not messing with it.
I fully concur on that. Roansy Contreras, Houston and at St. Louis. I know he's a guy we all like, but that is such a difficult 2-step. And again, back to the JP Sears thing. What kind of win can you even expect? You can't. I can't do this with Contreras.
Pittsburgh's, I think, better than people give them credit for. But
you've been on that even before the season started. Yeah. But you're still not projecting a win in either of those outings, right?
Absolutely not. And I mean, I have questions about Roansy Contreras and his propensity to walk guys, and he can have command issues at times too. So you add in that with going up against Houston and St. Louis, and I'm out.
Yeah. 2 Cardinals are getting trips to Colorado, and then they get Pittsburgh. Steven Matz and Miles Mikolas at Colorado, home to Pittsburgh. I was going to bring up Mikolas and the struggling studs, too. He's not quite a stud, but he's like a mid-tier guy that was getting drafted everywhere. But he's off to a rough start. And that's your boy Matz as well, but it's a trip to Colorado. Does that eliminate both of them, or does the Pittsburgh start at home bring you back on either or both?
It's hard because both of them are kind of ground ball guys, so maybe they can survive Coors, but I think I'm still tentative to want to start either of them there, so probably not, but I can see the argument.
Would you pick either up? Let's say Miles Mikolas was cut somewhere.
Yes,
would you pick either up and bench them the way we were talking about with Miley and Manning? Okay.
Yeah, I think I might. Yeah.
So anybody with an M name, Miley, Manning, Matz, Mikolas, you're picking them up.
Absolutely.
Even if you're not starting them. But yeah, I wouldn't start Matz or Mikolas here with the at Colorado. That's scary enough that the Pittsburgh start does not counterbalance it enough for me. I doubt you're starting Josh Fleming against Boston and at Toronto, right?
Absolutely not.
Deeper on that. Your boy Heaney got smoked, and I don't want to make too much out of one start, but usually when he gets trounced like that, something is wrong. So it does scare me. 7 runs in 2 2/3 with a couple homers. I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. I'm just nervous. Gets KC and then a trip to Houston. Trip to Houston isn't as scary as we would think because the second half of their lineup is pretty crummy right now with the injuries. But are you taking the plunge with your boy Andrew Heaney right now?
I want to give myself a little pat on the back for not drafting Andrew Heaney on every team this year. I've learned my lesson. I still believe in the guy and think the skills are there for him to be a really good pitcher, but I knew it was a mistake.
You didn't just want 80 innings of quality starting this time?
Yeah. That being said, I'm not burying anybody after one bad start. So I'm not burying Andrew Heaney because he had a bad start in Baltimore. I am kind of burying him because this is who he is, and he did this at the end of spring or all throughout spring training too. He was giving up bombs left and right. So
that is his favorite thing to do, is give up homers.
Yeah. So no, I'm not starting him for this 2 start.
What about going back to our M guys about picking him up and holding him? Would you do that with Heaney where he's available 10s and 12s? You're not even picking him up to stash him. Okay, so
Yeah.
you are a recovering Heaney-holic
Yeah.
here, and you really are committing to the program, and I respect that.
I just like the hard part with a guy like that is like I don't know when I would feel comfortable starting him. Like,
Yeah,
it's just,
and I do think that this qualifies where if you can't start him home to KC and at Houston, even though Houston is difficult, but again, they're not super scary. If you can't start him here, when are you really going to feel confident? Because you rarely get a 2-start where both starts are amazing. And
Yeah.
home to KC is very good. At Houston right now is palatable because of the bottom half of their lineup. And if you're not ready to start Heaney there, you're not really starting him in many situations. So I understand why you're passing here.
yeah.
And then what about Patrick? Oh, never mind. Never mind. I'm not even going to say it.
Oh man.
No, stop. That's it for the 2 steps. What do you got going on this weekend? You and Jason going to be podding?
I don't
Oh, no,
know
it's
that
Easter.
we are because
It's
it's
Easter.
Easter, so
Yeah.
we may not be able to. We talked about potentially trying to either do it Monday night or Saturday, but I honestly don't know if I'm gonna be able to. So I do want to say I kind of went back and forth on whether or not I was gonna mention this. We got a review on the feed where somebody complained about us not recording enough. And the guy, whoever the guy was, and like he did say at the end, like he's just being selfish and he wants to hear more of us. This is not my full-time job. He made a comment about this being my full-time job, and unfortunately, I work a full-time job on top of all the industry stuff I do. If you would like to support the Patreon and make this my full-time job, I'm more than happy to record daily with Paul. But unfortunately, I apologize for not recording more in March because we were traveling a lot and
That was the thing
busy.
too. It was the back-to-back travel weeks that we were a bit scant there, but we keep this pod going all off season, so hopefully we give you enough off season stuff. But March was a bit light. I think that was fair, but it is not your full-time job like you said, and so that sometimes can make a difficult balance if we have the days that we have set, but then we're traveling on those days. There's no fill-in days, so don't worry, we're gonna have plenty going on here in season. I'm gonna add a midweek episode here soon, so then you would have our 2 episodes, a midweek and then the weekend one, more often than not with Jason. So feedback
support
taken.
the Patreon. Like,
But yeah, support
go,
Patreon.
Like,
Appreciate everyone doing that. We should have a ranking update. I'll have one soon. I usually wait a few weeks, right? Even with injuries and things right now, I don't want to go in and make a million changes off of a week. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait at least another week to 10 days, and then I will have an update on things. If you want to ask me about certain guys, has your outlook changed on so and so? Definitely hit me up there. You can ask questions in the Patreon, in the Discord, on Twitter. Hit me up there. I'm happy to answer questions, but I'm not going to go in and make a bunch of sweeping rankings changes yet because I can't commit to updating them daily. So I'm not going to do a first week update if I'm not going to do the next week update and every single week. I don't have the time to update my rankings every single week.
Yeah, and I'll be doing we'll start watch parties next week in the Discord.
Excellent.
And I will set up a Zoom for some point this month for people who want to come in, ask questions. If you're a part of that tier, I can't remember which.
Oh yeah. So we'll do a monthly Q&A. That's a great idea.
So that'll happen before the end of the month. So I'll get with Paul and figure out when is a good time to do that. Even if you want to just come in and hang out, like, we'll just
you don't
chill
have to ask
for
questions
a
if you
little
don't
while.
want. Other people will keep the questions flowing. But thank you all so much for supporting the Patreon and listening to the pod, leaving reviews, even if they're critical. Appreciate the critical feedback. But it is worth noting that this is not Justin's full-time job. It sounds like it because he does so much fantasy work. But my man also has a full-time day job. So, Justin, I think you got to go get to that day job. So we'll talk later. Have a good one.
Take it easy.